What's going on, everybody? This ain't working. Yeah, it's working. What's going on? Good morning. One second. What's going on, Willingham? Sister Valerie Hernandez, good morning. Big Nard Cannon, good morning, sir. Kima Tone, Missionary Cross, Reverend Leela, Miss Claudette. Good morning, everybody. Give me some. Hopefully, everybody's doing all right this morning. Had some technical difficulties this morning with my setup up here, but I think everything's running right. What's going on, Mr. Roy? Good to see you, sir. Roy, I'm had to give you a shout out, man. Roy, Roy, you all right, man. You all right. Miss Nita, good morning. Sister Laura Wilson, good morning. What's going on, Miss Cannon? Good morning, everybody. So we are going to go ahead and get started this morning. Hopefully, everybody is having a blessed and prosperous day. The day just started, so if it's bad already, what's going on, Sister Stratford? Um, if it's bad already, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. If your problems from yesterday have greeted you on this morning, just know that the Lord's grace and His mercy is sufficient. And I believe don't forget, we're going to send out a notification for you to come by and pick up your copy of the book. And the reason that this is going to be important, because some of us, I believe, for those of us who have been at the church for a while, you have this book already, because some of these in the book, some of the questions at the end of the chapter, they are going to be for the topic in discussion during Bible study. And so, since we can somewhat interact during Bible study, I want us to do this, especially when it gets to the point of when we talk about church membership. And and I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna get into the prayer. I'm trying not to get sidetracked. It's a whole lot of people that have a whole lot of statements, a whole lot of things to say about the church that have never truly been a part of the church. And it's amazing to me how people always have opinions about things without gathering all the facts. So I am looking forward to us. We're going to deal with some over the next several weeks, as we're focusing on turning things upside down, as we're focused on entering into our building, and then towards our grand opening celebration and just everything that we're doing. And so I believe that what we're going to be talking about over the next several weeks is going to help get our minds right, get us in a better place spiritually and mentally. And we're going to challenge some things, some notions, and some bad theology, bad philosophies, and just flat out mistruths and lies out there as pertains to the church. And we're going to get into that. So if you don't have this book already, some of you do. It's going to be free to you all. So just come by, just pay attention. Look out for the realm blast, so you can come by and pick it up and get your copy. Because the questions in this book, that's some things we're going to be going over in Bible study, and then the other book, Autopsy of a Deceased Church, and we're going to talk about that as well. So I think all that's going to be good. What's going on, Dr. Hill? Tell Miss T I said good morning. And so what I want to do this morning is I want to encourage us. Yesterday, I met with Brother Solomon and Brother Chris, and I will say this: I am extremely excited about the different generations that are in our church, the different generations that are active in our church. We have people that are seasoned. We have people that are what they call sproutly, sprightly. We got people that are just beginning. We got people that are running, people that are soaring, people that are walking, and people that are transitioning to sitting. All the above. And so I'm grateful for that. And yesterday we were talking and got to spend some time with Brother Solomon, Brother Chris. And it was good just to see. And you all know, and ladies, don't get me wrong, I'm not against women at all. I mean, I'm married to a woman. My mom was a woman, and I have daughters that will be women someday. But I love it when we see men in church, men serving the Lord, men showing up to be on the front lines of things, because nationally, statistically, that just doesn't happen that much. And so it's funny because we had a conversation, and it's kind of leading to, and it kind of parallels what the devotion is this morning in the Awakened devotion. And it's basically just talking about baby steps in Mark chapter 14, verse 8. Depending on how you read it and what interpretation you follow of the Bible. Some might say it was Mary, some might say it was just some unnamed woman, about when she anointed Jesus with the spikenard, with the oil, with the perfume. And the idea is in verse 14, it starts out, she did what she could. That's simple. That oftentimes when we approach God and the things of God, I know I did. I tried to approach it and it's like eating the elephant in one bite, or running the marathon in one step, or trying to drink all the water from the fire hydrant at the same time. It is virtually impossible and very overwhelming when we approach God like that. What we need to have the mindset is that we just need to do what little we can in the time that we have, in the day that we're in. It's just that simple. And it doesn't mean that we don't have goals. It doesn't mean that we don't have plans. It doesn't mean, I'm sorry, the name of the book is I Am a Church Member. Um, all those are fine. All those are good. But oftentimes, let me help us out here. Oftentimes, people paint this picture of God, or we have this picture of God, that he's asking us to do something that is super extravagant, that is beyond, is like, oh man, I could never do that. It's too lofty, it's too high, and really that's not the case. When he told Moses, I need you to go go to Pharaoh. I need to tell Pharaoh he need to let my people go. And he said, the rod that is in your hand, David, he already had his slingshot. The woman in this text, she had the oil. That it's just the simple things that God requires of us. And those simple acts, those simple actions over time, they amount to something great. And so, simply stated, all we need to do is simply start where you are, period. Start where you are. I think back into everyday terms, because I remember when I was younger and I wanted to learn how to drive. And you know how it is. I'm getting tired of my mama trying to take me everywhere. I'm getting tired of complaining, and I'm getting tired of waiting on rides and stuff and riding the school bus. And so I wanted to learn how to drive. And what I was doing, I remember I used to ride with my mom, and my dad. I used to be so impressed with how easily they could just navigate the turns, and how easily they could just drive, and they could just. I said, man, how in the world can they drive so well? And it just seemed in my head that I would never get to the place where I can drive as good as them. And then when I started driving, oh my goodness! I remember one time I was driving in Clarksville. It didn't really snow a lot, but we got ice, and there was ice storms, and trees had fallen, and the roads really didn't have medians, or turning. It's like it was just a one yellow line down the middle of the road. It's like you were. To me, it seemed like you were like centimeters away from the opposing traffic coming against you, and I was so scared. And I remember one time I hit some tree branches were in the road, and I scraped up against the branches, and it scraped up my pop's car. And he was, he obviously was a little hot. And I'm thinking, man, I'm never going to get to drive. I was flustered. At that time I said, I can't do this. I drive all the time now. I was teaching one of my kids to drive. They were like, man, Dad, this is too much. It's overwhelming. And actually ran up on a curb, busted my tire, But now they drive all the time. And now my little kids, my younger kids, like, Dad, how'd you learn how to drive so good? And me looking at them, I know that eventually they'll get there. And that's, I think, the way the Lord looks at us. He knows that eventually we'll get there. But what we need to do is just make the most. What little bit we can do today, that's what we do. Don't worry about it. Don't over exert ourselves. Don't try to do too much. Don't stress ourselves out. What's in my control to do, that is what God is requiring of me to do. He very seldom asks us to do something with something that we can't do anything about. He told Moses, what's in your hand? David used his sling. The woman, she used the oil. I guarantee you that whatever God is requiring of you or whatever God is asking of you is something that is in your hand that you can do. And when we do that, those little steps make up a larger journey of our faith in Christ. It doesn't seem like much at the time. That one yes at one point in time in your life, it didn't seem like much then. But that one yes opened the door to another yes, then it opened the door to another opportunity, then it opened the door. And it's like God works on us in increments. And in today's world where people are looking at things on social media and you're looking at how great someone else is and you're reading someone else's highlight reel and you think that they just did it overnight, all of a sudden, not realizing all the pain, all the effort that went into it behind the scenes, all the days and decisions that it took to get to the point that we now see. Very seldom do we recognize and realize everything that takes place behind the scenes that has to happen on daily decisions that need to be made. And so I would just encourage all of us this morning that we can get where God wants us to be, but we need to be wise and remember that it happens one step at a time. And one of the things that is probably the most overlooked and most undervalued and underappreciated is that it's consistency. Consistency far outweighs any giftedness that anybody has. Consistency is something that is very seldom found, but when you see it, it's appreciated. Consistency will outdo talent any day of the week. It you can't. Consistency is where it's at. And all we don't need to be. We do not. God is not telling us to be the best at anything. He's not telling you to be the greatest. He's not telling you to we have to break records. He's not telling us that we have to do. All we need to do is be consistent and faithful with the revelation which he's already entrusted to us. Be consistent and faithful with the things that he's already placed in our hand. And when we do that, that's when the elevation happens. That's when more doors are open. That's when progress is seen. Because you people don't understand that there's so much that goes on behind. And that's one of the things the Lord really challenged me in the beginning about the church. But I said, there's nothing happening. I said, God, this, I'm looking at, and I had friends who were just like knocking out the park and they were doing all these great things. Um, and the Lord kind of, he really convicted me on some things. He said, when an oak tree grows, it grows down before it grows up. And the only thing that really grows fast are weeds, and weeds are not stable. They're not really, they can't withstand the test of time. But when oak trees grow down, they spread out, then they grow up. And the Lord is saying, just because you can't see things on the surface doesn't mean something's not happening beneath the surface. And so we have to understand that in our lives that sometimes God has to work beneath the surface, in private, behind closed doors, in the dark, in our character, in our hearts, and our minds, before anything sprouts up above surface. And so how we handle what God is doing in those moments when we're hidden, when he hides us. And everybody's, y'all forgive me. It's like everybody, I want to be the greatest. It's your season. It's your time. I get all that, and that sounds good, and it gets us super amped up. It's like, but you can't always eat cotton candy. You can't always have this superficial faith where it's always about the scene and being flashy and being noticed and obtaining and grabbing and getting. Sometimes we need that grit of faith, that faith that says that even in this dark season, even when I'm put out, even when I get demoted instead of promoted, even when they walk away from me, even when the doors are closed, even when I'm standing in the hallway, even when I'm in a battling depression, even when I'm going through, even when I'm suffering, I'm still going to be faithful and consistent to my God. And to somebody that is there, if you're there, I'm gonna tell you where you can find great joy. You can find great joy by celebrating the wins and the victories of others. I have found pleasure in celebrating when what's happening in my life is not ideal or how I want. I find people that God is moving in their lives, and I can celebrate their victories with them. And if I can celebrate their victories with them, it gives me hope and it gives me encouragement, that, you know what, if God did it for them, he could do it for me. But in the back of my head, I'm reminded that God, he's had his own prerogative. He can do what he wants to do. But either way it goes, get out your funk. Find somebody that's blessed, and man, go celebrate with them. No, don't be jealous. Don't hate. Don't be envious. Go celebrate with them. There's so many small things that we can do that can make a difference. And now people do not appreciate the small things. People do not want to deal with the small things. Everybody wants what's instant, what looks good, what's tweetable, what's postable, what's a highlight. And for most of us, that's just not where we are. We wake up every day, we go to work, we deal with kids, you deal with people, you deal with school, you deal with teachers, you deal with ignorant acting folk, you deal with pleasant people. And it's just mundane, grinding days. And I just got to be consistent and faithful in these mundane and grinding days. And if I do that enough, eventually when I look back, I've made progress that I didn't even know was happening. And oftentimes that's how growth occurs. That's how God moves. It's like you can't see it when it's happening, but when you look back, and when something happens and that clicks in your head, they would have called me about a year ago. I would have put my hand all up beside their face. Like I didn't even know the spirit was moving in me as much as he's moving in me. If they would have talked to me like that, you know, I would have kicked them in the side of their neck. Boy, God is good. And you don't even know how you got there. You don't even know how you got there. You don't even know how you arrived there. You didn't even see it happening. But every day we're consistent. Every day we do what little we can. Every day we make the most of the revelation that God has entrusted to us. And what might not look like much to someone else, when God looks at our faithfulness, when God looks at how we are handling what he's placed in our hands, when God sees, you know what, I know that you might be looking at them and they look like they're knocking out the park, but he said, I'm not comparing you to them. I just want to see what you're going to do with what I entrusted to you. And understand something. God gave us this day. He's entrusting this day with us, to us, I mean. So what are we going to do with the gift that God has given to us? Am I going to be light? Am I going to be salt? Am I going to be used for his glory? And no matter how oblivious or obscure or mundane it may be. And when you find people like that, the people that have impacted my life the most, um, uh, they probably never get a national award. You'll never see them on the front front of a newspaper. Well, for people to buy newspapers anymore, they'll never be on a Huffington Post or whatever it is. They'll never be there. But they were consistent with what God had given to them, and it changed. It has changed my life forever. It is changing my life forever. And so I would challenge us that it doesn't look like much to other people. We might not get applauded or celebrated. We might not even get recognized on the job, or we might not get the promotion, or whatever the case may be. But we can just remain faithful with and to what God has given to us. Um, we can experience Him. We can experience Him. And so, it's small things, it's baby steps. It doesn't look like it's amounting much to nothing to anyone else, but it matters to God. And so let that be an encouragement to all of us this morning. I gotta go. I gotta get the kids to school, but let that be an encouragement to us this morning that if you can just do what it is that God has placed in your hand, and it's baby steps, it's small, it seems insignificant, but it adds up over time. Do it. Just just do it. Run for it. If you want to go back to school, go back to school. Um, if there's a program you want to join in, then I'm going to join the program. If there's a track you want to take, something that you want to do to better yourself, a class, whatever it is, whatever, do it. And over time, it adds up and it makes a difference. And there's one thing that Dr. Bradley always told me, and I never will forget this. Um, he said, "The Lord rewards faithfulness." And my first pastor, Reverend Lewis, said that too. The Lord rewards faithfulness. That when we're faithful, I don't know how God does it. He has some kind of account in heaven. And what we're storing up in one season, in one place, He can give it to us in another season in a different place. And I was under the impression that what I did in Kentucky was gone once I left Kentucky. What I did in Tennessee was gone once I left Tennessee. What I did in Texas was gone once we left Texas. But then when we came to Florida, the Lord reminded me all those things that we had done, all those areas that we were faithful in, the Lord said, now I'm going to give it back to you. And I was afraid that it was gone, that we just, how the rollover minutes, when you don't use them at any time they expire, I was afraid we had lost the blessing. But the Lord told us, where you have been faithful, I'm going to prove to you that He's faithful as well, and you get to reap that stuff back. So I'm telling you, it might not look like much right now, but be encouraged. You might have got rejected or turned down, but be encouraged. The Lord is working; He's watching, and eventually we will have our reward, whether in this life or the next. God is going to move. So you guys be blessed. I know the prayer call, but we didn't pray. I gotta get these kids to school. But y'all be blessed. Y'all have a good one. And just remember, baby steps. All right, y'all be blessed.